guys, I'm Ben Wharton from Wharton Studio. I'm out here practicing my chipping because I need it. We're going to start off with the lob wedge. 60-degree lob wedge is the most important, I think, to get basically used to as an amateur golfer. A lot of people, there's a lot of knowledge out there saying to avoid the 60-degree wedge. I think myself personally, the 60-degree wedge is somewhat the easiest club to hit in the bag. Obviously the driver's got the biggest head, but as far as irons are concerned, the 60-degree wedge is the biggest head, most loft and shortest shaft. So it should be easier to hit than a 56-degree, 50-degree or a pitching wedge, which a lot of you kind of resort to. And if you're some of my clients out there that love that little chipping wedge, give it back to your wife. Please, we don't need that out there. So basically, how I go around hitting a chip shot is I get my stance nice and narrow. So we want to kind of restrict hip turn here. Basically, if you create too much hip turn, the golf club, I believe, gets too shallow to the plane or path, and then it's going to be hard to kind of collect the ball nicely and create spin. Basically, we're going to put our feet nice and close together, so our heels are kind of like somewhat over our hips. It's going to be, well, so you're not stood too far away like a normal golf shot. We're going to get nice and close, handle a little bit higher, and you're going to shaft lean just a fraction. So your handle of your shaft is going to be somewhat near your front quad or just on the left side of your zipper. We don't want it kind of like lean too far ahead. That's going to de-loft the club and cause the ball to come out too low with not enough spin. So we're going to give it a little bit of shaft lean, that narrow stance. I'm then going to work my club a slightly more vertical plane. So as we go vertical, you think about I talk a lot about tennis, giving back to tennis, like a normal golf swing. We're going to go topspin forehander, your hand goes low to high, which creates a draw if you're looking after that draw effect in your normal golf shot. But basically with chipping, we're trying to create that nice soft landing and a little bit of height and a little bit of spin. So we're going to talk about the club going more vertical and then coming down steep across the ball. You imagine you're playing table tennis against your buddies and you're trying to create that kind of like chop shot basically. I kind of try to relate back to other sports. I think it makes it easier to understand. But so we're going to get our stance nice and narrow. We're going to stand nice and close to it. We're also going to have our ball kind of situated forward to middle of our stance. You don't want to get too far forward off your front toe, because then you're basically going to hit the equator of the ball, nor do you want to have it too far back, because it's going to come out way too low and not enough spin, especially for this shot that we've got here. Got a little bit of height. Couple of meters of hill to get over. So basically what I do, very important, I generally have 3 practice swings when I'm on tour as part of my pre-shot routine. You'll see 2 techniques I'm going to show you today. One is kind of like the wristy hinge and hold move, and another one's more like a Jason Day, another great Australian, shout out to the lads boys, but it's going to be more of a kind of like a simple towel under the arm drill that I'll show you in a little bit. But first and foremost, this is going to be the kind of steep spinning shot. The ball will then spin left to right, but like I said before, middle of the stance or slightly further forward. You're going to make sure your weight is leaned left on your front foot. So you're going to have 60 to 70% of your weight on your lead foot, and you're going to have your sternum or chest over the ball. If your sternum's back of the ball, you're going to fall backwards and probably most likely chunk it. And especially in Melbourne, Australia, where we're playing, we get a lot of tight lies, and if you fall back, you're gonna blade it as well. So let's hit a couple. Again, forward in your stance, leaning left. I like to just say lean left, stay left. Kind of nice and steep, and we're coming in with a little bit of left to right spin. You see that didn't spin. Obviously the hill's a little bit right to left, and like I said, I need a little bit of chipping practice, first one of the day, but you'll notice how the club works a slightly more vertical plane, and we're cutting across it, always maintaining speed through the ball. A lot of people, which I see more often than not from students, is a lot of deceleration through impact. So it'll look a little bit like that, and the ball goes nowhere and chunky. So we're going to always make sure the body gets forward and through it, like your normal golf shot. Whatever backswing you take, you're going to take the equivalent on the way through to create that nice spin, nice crisp contact. Try and hold this one. So club's going up and down, another way to play it. You can get a little bit more wristy on it if you want a little bit more height. I've also been known to have quite a strong grip when I chip. It's just personal preference, but you can weaken your left hand. I wouldn't say to do this in the full swing, but if you weaken your left hand, that can also aid you in keeping that club face open. So the club works a little bit more open and through, like so. You see how that one went a little bit higher, a little bit softer. Another thing I do to create a little bit more spin is to create speed through the impact zone, more speed than normal. But I'll open the club face just a fraction. So if that's square on this shot here, I might open it maybe to 45 degrees. I'm not opening it wide up like a bunker shot or a flop shot, but just 45 degrees. And I'm again cutting across it, holding that face open. The club face in itself should be pointing back at me post impact. So it's that high, nice vertical shot, go in. Oi, nearly got one. Starting to learn the break on this shot. It's obviously moving a little bit right to left. Now again, a lot of you out there will back up, so making sure you're leaning forward and you're always getting your weight transferring forward onto your front foot, and you see like that, gets that nice little bit of spin and a little bit of check. We're getting that downward attack angle. So like I suppose Joe Mayo's become pretty famous talking around that, Victor Hovland and all that guys, they talk about like a really steep descent into the ball. I like that approach, but there's also another way to play it. That's pretty good. Might have holed it. There you go, got one. So there's also another approach that my mate Jason Day, grew up playing with him. He's obviously, you know, one of the world's best, and I admire him a lot, more for his mental attitude and the way that he practiced. But he works a lot with a towel under his arms to keep his arms slightly more connected. You notice in those previous ones I had a slight bit of wrist hinge. So this one here, you can work with the towel, get a lot less wrist hinge, and then that comes out slightly higher. Basically what that does is keeps the face open, and it gets the ball working in, or the club head working in under the ball really nicely. It's something I would say for you, a lot of you amateur golfers out there, to make as part of your routine. Grab a towel, chuck it on your arm, stay connected. You're then not going to decelerate because you can't. You have to use your sternum to create the power in the backswing. A lot of people will become extremely handsy through impact, which again is not a bad thing if you know what you're doing, but for you amateur golfers out there, it's way easier to just stay that nice and connected and hit those shots nice and cleanly. Now, the same thing applies if I'm going to now that back pin. You see, that's like, I suppose, 25 meters away. I'm going to do the same things, but I'm going to do it with a little bit of a bigger backswing. So you'll notice how the ball comes out a little bit higher. That one was a little bit long, I misjudged it, but the ball's then going to be coming out a little bit higher and a little bit spinnier. And like we talked about before, getting used to the 60-degree wedge is very, very important. As a bit of a not technical thing, I'd make sure to head, I suppose, to your nearest golf shop and get fit for your wedge, or ask them and tell them what course you play or what environment you're used to. The bounce on the club is very, very important. If you've got too much bounce, which I see a lot of my clients, especially in Australia, having, or the southern parts of Australia, having 12 to 14, 10 degrees bounce, it's way too much. And if you get on a tight lie like this, the bounce is going to kick in and you're going to blade the ball. No matter how good your technique. So really, really important. I myself here have a Vokey. What's this one? It's called a 8M80 Plus, which is basically 6 degrees bounce, give or take, and then the club's able to slide nicely underneath the ball. Wow, that would have been nice to hold.